glare out of my glasses.
Live. Hi, guys. Look what we got.
Welcome.
He did this for us, guys. How about that?
We have a special guest here. This is our final episode of Ephemera. What's Ephemera? You know, we're on our fourth one, and we got this guy right here. He knows about it. This guy will buy stuff, and he will part it out, and he's gonna go into it a little deeper today. And so we want to welcome our guest, Mr. Buysalot, also known as Mr. Brian Davis. Is that correct?
Yep.
He froze up just a little bit. He's coming back.
It's kind of rough as far as the reception goes, guys.
Let's give him a second because he's driving. He's in the Poconos. Oh, forget it. We're gonna get choppy here a little bit, but that's okay. So
I'm
you
gonna
guys
say hi to some people. Hi, Wendy. How you doing?
We'll say hi real quick. Hey, Wendy's here.
KJ. So Reseller, hello. Duncan's back. Yay. Rain, nothing but rain. Gonna list more Queen Victoria envelopes today. They are hot sellers. Nice. Victoria sends him some good postcards. Greg, hey. Good you're here. And there's Beth. Hello.
Hey guys.
So are you okay there, Brian? You're kind of
maybe put them in and put them out. Oh, I was gonna say maybe sometimes if you do it or one of us does it, we can we'll put him. He'll come back in. We'll give him a shot.
He'll come back in. Yeah, he's on the road, guys. He's such a. This is how good Brian is. He was on the way back from a little short vacation with the family up north a little bit. He lives in Allentown, Pennsylvania, so he's about. I'm guess about an hour from home here now. He's been driving for about 3 hours, and he said yes, he could still jump in, and we're
gonna try it here, and so we'll do our best. But you guys, while we're waiting, and hey, little Debbie, how you doing? Little Debbie's here.
Hi, Debbie.
In there, Nana and I would like for you guys to come up with some questions so that if we even get a little split second with Brian, he's got great ideas. He buys a lot of stuff. If you don't know him, watch his link. Trish will post his link back down there a little later. We didn't have a chance to adjust because he was doing us a great favor. He's going to come in a little bit. Hopefully, we'll see if we can reconnect because he is on the road. So, Nana, we started this 3 weeks ago, and this has been a fun idea. Well, tell me your thoughts. So we did one, was kind of an introduction. 2, I'm trying to go back and look at my on my page, and I remember we had a certain thing was like, we had a certain title for it, and I'm trying to go back and look what it was referred to.
Back and good here. Okay.
Did he get back? Okay.
Yeah, he's here now. Just
okay.
Going to be in and out, guys. I told him that you're on the road.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Brian. Introduce yourself.
Okay, so I'm Brian Davis, Mr. Buysalot, YouTube, Instagram, eBay, pretty much anywhere. I'm a little computer illiterate, so
I'm with you on that one. I'm not that tech savvy.
You're doing fine. He's also on Facebook, guys. This is his Facebook group that he does Facebook. And you're still getting choppy there, Brian. Brian, you do auctions on your Facebook.
Give him a chance there, Nana. Maybe he'll come back.
He's there. It's just a little choppy.
Can you pop him in and out and just to see if that makes a difference on your end? Sometimes, it juggles it up a little bit. Let's see let's give him a chance to come back. Well, we can leave him there and see if it comes back. No. Yeah, we'll give him a chance. We'll do our best. But what Trish was saying is let's see if it syncs up. Well, and if anything, yeah, just if you want, leave him in the chat. Maybe it'll come back. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Nope, he's gone now. I can't even bring him back in.
Let me give an example about Brian. Brian has been in the YouTube community for quite some time. Some of you all probably are familiar with Mr. Buysalot, as his moniker goes. And hi, Jennifer Hayes, and we hope you're doing well. We really do. We've been saying some prayers for you and sending you well wishes. So Don't overextend your hand today. Let other people. There's plenty of people with blue wrenches, and Moon Goddess is here too. So Brian has some YouTube stuff. I recommend a couple of them, you guys. One is about quite a few videos, but not too far back. If you look, you can find it. He found some golden age, I think, or maybe it was platinum, but he found some comics, and I want to say it was close to $10,000 worth of comics.
Oh yeah, easy he can. Hey, there's little vintage me 64 new here. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for coming in.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank
we
you.
have a guest, and he's been in a couple times. He's traveling on the road, actually, so the reception isn't the best, and he's on his phone. So he's been jumping back in and out, and we're hoping he gets back in. He just popped out again. So
we'll do our best. But going through those mountains, it's pretty hard, Trish. So we'll just keep trying for him and see what we can do. Right?
That's all we can do is just keep going forward. So appreciate you being here. Thank you.
All right, here we go. Let me see here. I was looking for one of those questions that we had that you and I were talking about this morning. One of them was, oh yeah, when he gets back, maybe we can just quickly shoot him we can do the whole, let's just shoot him a quick question. Say, hey, since you're chopping in and out, we're going to ask you a question. But we know that Brian, he loves to talk like we do, and we hope we can get him back. And when he tells his stories, he's just a guy full of knowledge bombs. He's got, not only that, he's entertaining. The way he tells his stories are amazing.
Yeah, he's very informative. He does like to talk, and he's a good talker. He speaks very well. And I don't know if everybody's familiar with Brian or not. Mr. Buysalot. He does have a lot of ephemera and a lot of vintage items, but he literally goes out and buys out whatever he can find. He'll go buy a tractor trailer full of stuff, or stores. He buys out
but
stores.
He buys it in bulk, and there's that I would like to. I guess one of the things I'm really interested in is finding out, by buying in bulk, you end up probably, like I was telling you about a weekend find that I did this week, and Trish, and when you buy in bulk, you don't know what you're going to get, which could be a risk, but at the same time, but that risk can work out to your favor, especially like we know he's a good businessman, so he probably buys it at like pennies on the dollar.
Oh, absolutely he does. And he did a video once that was so amazing. I would have loved to I don't know where he got them. I have to ask him, but there was a huge lot. I'm talking hundreds of posters, actual movie posters from the theaters.
There are music concert posters, yeah. Or maybe
from way back, yeah.
You maybe, well, he's done more than that. You're right. He has had movie posters too. So
and thousands upon thousands had barrels full of pens, different kinds of, they might have been political pens or what they were, different kinds of pens that you would wear. Tons of those. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of those.
I'm gonna text him real quick, and while I'm doing that,
hey Lori, hello, glad you're here. You're going to be able to, you can text him and see how's it going for him.
I'm just going to tell him, say, feel free to try again. We can play the, feel free to.
He sent me a comment, but he says, I'm back, I think. No, you're not.
Okay, I just wrote him back. So on that note.
There he is.
Okay.
Kind of.
You have a question ready for him, Nana?
Yeah, sure. I can ask him about.
Make it short.
It's not working.
Just let it sink in. Sometimes it'll just be that. Here it comes, something. I see it blank out. So it looks like it's really trying. Well, we'll leave him there. So he's going to be our invisible guest right now.
Yeah. Hey. Hi, Jonathan. How you doing?
All right. Well, once again, you guys, thank you for coming here, Wendy, Jennifer. We got Little Village Me 64. I'm not that familiar with you. Sola Seller, I forget. Sola Seller is, what's their name? And write it in the thing there. We got Lori. Oh, I hear him. I think we can hear you a little bit, Brian. You're still choppy, but keep trying. If you can hear us, hang in there. Because I think Nana still has you still left him on, right?
Yeah, he's still there, but now he's gone.
Okay.
It just
I
popped
think
out.
if he's in the Poconos, that's a really hard place to get reception up there. They're like high mountains.
Yeah.
And they're
Well, there's mountains all around us here. But that's a good question Wendy has. The political ads we'll receive daily, and boy, are we getting those, aren't we? I get about 5, 6 a day.
Do
Considered
you collect
ephemera.
political ephemera, Trish? Not really. I've been collecting some of the contemporary stuff, and because I have a flat file. So, like, I would say, if you have storage and overhead,
Yeah, that's fine.
like finding I wish I had a box. Like, if you guys have a box like this, I go to the grocery store sometimes. If you have like a simple box, something like an old tomato box, and when you open it up, if it's clean. Speaking of ephemera, boxes are great. It's got, find something that's clean. See how it has a structural support here. So something that that's going to fit in this area. And even if you could stack it up, you can actually turn it this way and put file systems and make what they call a morgue file, is like where you store certain flat items. So something like that doesn't take up a lot of space. Something that you can store up high. I was going to suggest is, what do you do? We talked about, what ephemera is, and I'm looking back on your page, and the second part was we just gave our perspective on it, which was other variations and how to deal with it, and then the third one we talked about preservation, right?
Yeah, preservation, yes.
So today I think we should talk about why is it in a reseller's best interest? Like, what is why would we want to really waste our time in a game of like something we're not that familiar with? Well, look at things as investments. If you're a stock person and you're good at it, if you have a small box like that, what does it take? If you got, and I mean, everybody has storage area, and there's always a dead space in some place. If you can line it with plastic so it doesn't get water damage, store it up where, 5 years goes fast. I'm telling you, you can come and then all of a sudden you're going to go, I wish I had that. When it comes to paper, I think one of the things we talked about was how easy it is to store. There he is again. Welcome back.
But that was a good question, Wendy, whether that political stuff today, it's not ephemera right this minute, but it will be considered ephemera one day.
Nana, we have Brian before he cuts out. Listen to him. So,
you're okay.
Brian, we're going to jump in our questions real quick to you.
Okay. Hi,
Nana,
Jennifer Hayes. Hope you're feeling well.
Yeah, Jennifer, we've been sending a lot of prayers and stuff. Yeah, we said that to her in the chat. Today would be her third day of healing. So that's for sure.
Yeah, that's good. So Brian, we were telling some of the people in the chat about what you do and how you get it and how great you are, because you have a lot of ephemera stuff. And
one of the perspectives I was going to say is that you do it strategically. So we assume as much that you buy it for pennies on the dollar because you're such a great business strategist. But the thing is can you tell us what some of the advantages of buying in bulk, what versus the risks of not sure what may be in that stack? You know what I mean?
Right. So generally, the assumption is I'll buy in bulk. Some of my deals are pricey.
Yeah.
I've paid $1,000 for a letter before, so it just kind of depends on what I'm buying and where I'm getting it from. I just find myself more attracted to going to another dealer who had maybe 10,000 vintage photos, or a store that closed, or a dealer that got out of the business, and then I'm paying, let's say, $1 a piece for photos that normally I would pay 5 or 10 for, that I sell for 15 or 20. But I'm buying a really large amount at one time, so there's some things that I will actually break even on, and the rest of the stuff I make a profit.
Okay.
So you said mostly you buy in bulk, which I knew that, but you did buy something that you would spend over $1,000 on just one item.
Yeah, I've bought Civil War letters before. I've bought I've spent I spent $75,000 on a collection of French posters and World War I posters, and Alphonse Mucha 6 foot tall posters, some really, really high end stuff. But that deal was worth $300,000 or $400,000. So
So
it
you're
just
not
depends
going
on the deal.
blindly into it. You're doing. Obviously, there's times where you're going to need to do a lot of research and use your wisdom of like, oh, I'm very familiar with that artist or author or that period.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it just depends. I got out of eBay and out of doing antiques and collectibles for a little while and started looking into real estate investing.
Okay.
But then I wound up getting offered a railroad station that had about 200,000 pieces of railroad ephemera,
Wow.
letterheads and billheads that dated back to like 1906.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of it had really cool train graphics on top and
Wow.
stuff like that. And, so that brought me back into the business.
Okay.
And,
See,
and then
and just
from there
hearing
I
you talk
buying.
about it, it's like you get sucked back into it. But I've watched your videos for years, such as Trisha's. I've talked about. We watched you. You're really like you're good at what you do, but you're also like there's this other drive that's kind of inherent in your process. It's like, ooh, it's like here's the history of it. This is the value, but it's like obviously you're not going to go in it like blindly and say, well, how much is that worth? And kind of calculating that whole thing. But what drives you in terms of wanting to do ephemera? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm a little different than a lot of people. A lot of people preach the do your research, take your phone, look everything up, comp everything out. I don't do any of that. I've been doing this before eBay was even a thought. So I buy off my gut. If I look at something and I visually think that the item has appeal to me, I assume it will have appeal to someone else. And if it doesn't, I liked it enough to buy it in the first place. So it's okay.
I do that too sometimes, but you do it with, let's just say, but you say you do it blindly, but you inspect your product. Like I saw a video that was recently you bought, was it the golden age or the platinum age? I can't remember. There was these, just, you had I think your son, who may be behind you, he was there with you, and you guys bought a really, really well managed, like it was boarded, it had plastic on it, nicely put in boxes. What made you want to get those, for example?
Well, that was part of a bigger deal. I took him to Wisconsin to meet his girlfriend for the first time, and we stopped in Indianapolis. I got a call from, actually, I think it was from a subscriber, gave me a lead to a deal. So I went and I've actually bought a 16-foot truckload of original movie posters and a bunch of pulp magazines and a bunch of pre-1950s like Life and Time and Saturday Evening Post and stuff like that, with really beautiful, illustrated covers and stuff like that. And there was a ton of ephemera there, but then the guy was also a dealer at some point in time, had died, left it to his kids. And then, they had all of his comic books separate in one area. And there was a lot.
Yeah, because I remember in that video you said you had to go back, I think, and buy like $9,000 or I don't know, whatever it was.
Right. At his sister's house, there was a bunch of other magazines and pulp, 1930s and 40s pulp magazines. And, it was like 5,000 our golden age books, which were great. I believe our buy price was $39,000 is what me and my partner spent at the time. And but I sold part of the pulp collection, and then we sold the comic book collection, except for maybe 1,000 books.
Okay.
And I've sold a little bit of other stuff, so my money's back, and I actually have two storage units, two smaller 7x10 storage units that are still full from that, and I don't even know what's in there. I haven't taken the time to look, and I've been busy. And it's
Can I just real quick ask him a quick question, Trish? So do you have any concerns, like when you buy in bulk like that? I mean, and we're talking specifically about ephemera. Do you ever really like have some concerns or worries or challenges in that process of like making sure the integrity of it? Because last week we had a show talking just about preservation. Right. Go ahead.
So obviously, if we're spending those kind of numbers, it's not $100 deal or a $500 deal. Yes. We're going there. We're actually looking at the deal. Yeah. My goal is if I'm spending, let's say, $5,000, and I'm looking at 100 boxes of stuff, if I go through the first 50 boxes and I see my $5,000 back, I'm comfortable with that deal because the rest of everything else is either going to be of similar quality because I'm randomly picking the boxes. I'm not just choosing what they want me to look at specifically.
Okay.
Because a lot
so
of
you're
people
trying to get your ROI back, but like sometimes even a $10 deal can be, you know, more than quadrupled. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so
Sure.
because depending on what you're buying, but I mean, I get what you're saying, but when you're spending thousands of dollars, you want to get that back fast as you can.
Right. So generally my goal is always a double up plus fees. Some people, you know,
2/3 up at least, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you know, you should make 10 times, 20 times your money. That doesn't happen. Not if you want to be in a large business. You might find that deal
like you
once
said,
a
you're
year.
buying this stuff. You need to roll. Because time is money. You want to get it out, and you know, move on. And you know.
Hi, Johnny.
Now you have some contacts, right, that you go to periodically, or basically the people just come to you a lot, right, and ask, "Hey, I've got this," because you're known out there.
Calls. Yeah, I get a lot of phone calls. I'm friends with you know, I had a booth inside of Rentagers in Adamstown when I was 15 years old. I'm friends with the owners of numerous flea markets. I know people who own numerous antique co-ops. We have some ads out.
This is not your first rodeo. You've been doing this, so you made connections, and so that's the beauty in it. So, where do you find yourself? Let's say, not just, you know, collectibles in general, but like with ephemera. So with ephemera, like, where do you think you have an advantage because you've known these relationships so long, you know, or just you've been doing this for how long would you say you've been doing this? So, like, just
so I am 42.
Okay.
Or actually, I'm 40. I'll be 40. I'm 43, right, honey? Yes. Yeah, I'm 43.
He's still a baby. He's still a baby.
I don't even know how old I am. So I've been doing flea markets since I was at my first auction when I was 6 days old.
Awesome.
And I've been doing flea markets with my family since I was 4. And actually selling merchandise and stuff like that. And, you know, used to do Texas.
Okay.
My parents do Round Top. I've done Brimfield since I was really little in Massachusetts.
You talked about Round Top that's coming up too. Are you going to go to?
Actually, it happened last week.
Oh, that was last week. Okay, so.
Or actually, it's going on right now. My aunts, they're selling. I guess they open Thursday.
Yeah,
this weekend.
There's a gentleman that they're named the Reseller brothers that are on YouTube, and they're doing it right now. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, my aunt's there. But we've done flea markets all up and down the East Coast with my family. My mom's a textile dealer. My dad used to do art, like paintings and furniture. So
we've talked about that too in terms of art. Like, how do you? What is your favorite type of ephemera to sell? Would you say? And I better be quiet and give Trish.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask him. What's a favorite? Do you have a favorite that you ever sold or that you have in your collection?
I don't collect anything anymore.
You're like me. I don't either. Yeah.
How about
it's all
appreciate
I like
buying.
children's advertising. So, you know, old toy catalogs and stuff like that. I really find that stuff interesting. But I like postcards, and I like some of the original like artwork and comic book stuff. So I'm kind of all over the board. Really unique store displays. I
do like the postcards. I used to collect. Well, I still have a collection of postcards. I like postcards, but I'm like you. I would rather sell now than collect. I don't want to collect anymore. I just like to sell. So what's the most you ever sold something for? Can I ask you that?
The most in ephemera or in
just an ephemera. Yeah, just ephemera.
I sold a Toulouse-Lautrec Legrion poster at Posters International Galleries in New York for $120,000 plus.
I love it. I love it. Oh.
That is awesome. See, guys,
I have a master's in art. Yeah, I have a master's in art. So when you said Toulouse-Lautrec, I know his printmaking, and that stuff is phenomenal. Did you go through an auctioneer to do that, or did you do a private collection?
So that actually sold through Jack Renart, who owns Posters International in New York City.
I know the place.
They do amazing posters. The funny part about that is that was part of the $75,000 deal I bought.
Oh.
And that was all like one-sheet posters and Muka and original books and stuff like that from a friend of mine's pawn shop that had walked into his pawn shop. And I actually had that poster at Brimfield. It was linen backed. I did not linen back it, but it was linen backed when I got it.
Yeah.
And I accidentally had it in my truck at Brimfield flea market, and I pulled it out to actually set up. And somebody asked me for a price on it, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't want to sell that. I haven't priced it yet. And he's like, oh, just throw me a number. And I'm like, oh, I gotta pay off this 75 grand. So I was like $1,000. And the guy's like, oh, my son could draw better than this. And I was like, okay, well, it's not for everybody. That's fine. So he left that morning. I put it away. He came back the next day and he's like, hey, that poster you had, I'll give you $800. And I'm like, yeah, it's not for sale. It's gone already. And he's like, well, then I'll give you the 1,000. And I was like, I told you then I didn't really want to sell it. I gave you a number. If you'd have bought it, I would have sold it to you. I brought it because it was in the truck whenever I had finished, backing and boarding a bunch of World War I posters.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you're a horrible businessman because you won't sell it to me. And I'm like, I gave you a price yesterday. I would have kept my price yesterday. I told you I didn't want to sell it. I hadn't done any research. So my guess is he went home and he realized what it was.
Of course.
I had another friend of mine there that told me, like, hey, look into this a little bit more. If it's real, it could be really good. So I got in touch with the only other one that I knew where it had sold is Jack Renard's. And they actually told me, like, hey, we're in the middle of printing a catalog right now. We will stop production of the catalog. We will give you 2 center pages.
Wow.
And he's like, and the estimate would be like $60,000. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. He's like, can you get it to me like tomorrow? And I was like, there's no way. I'm just going to send it to somebody I've never dealt with before. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can drive into New York City. And he's like, oh, well, bring anything else you have. So I actually brought him stuff. We probably had about 9 pieces, including 3 really good books in that auction. And it did about 155,000, I think, was my overall numbers for that one auction. And I still have, a bunch of stuff from that deal. I still have a ton of the books, like the first edition books that I got from there. Sure. I know I have Mark Twain signed by Samuel Clemens.
Yep.
First edition, stuff like that. And that stuff's in my other warehouse. I don't even know where it's at anymore because I've bought so many deals since then that it just kind of piles in front of it.
I'm going to get on to you, Brian. I'm going to come help you organize them.
I know, right? Let's go help them.
I studied and I got my master's degree in arts. And so, I know how hard it is to keep this stuff. And so when you have these aha light bulb moments where it's like a Antiques Roadshow, and did you know that, when have you started changing your business strategy in terms of because it's hard for you, I imagine, because if you're buying, you buy stuff because you have to spend money to make money. So you're constantly buying stuff, but like you said, you don't always have time to have something. You put it aside, and hopefully you don't lose it. But when do you really find the time to make sure you manage how am I trying to put this? Managing
my debt pile.
But managing in terms of just not losing that investment because of wisdom, or just, like you said, doing the research. And because there's things I know at my house and I don't list them because I just haven't had the time to really. I have a flat file right behind me.
Yeah.
6 feet. It's
nice.
And it's full of art, and it's good stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm not, I don't want to ever give it away, so it's like, does that ever eat at you?
No, not at all. My stuff is housed outside of my home so that I don't drive my family completely crazy. And I'm much more productive not having my workflow through my home itself. Yeah. But, my simple solution is if I spend $5,000 on a deal, as soon as I get my $5,000 back, my inner self is satisfied that if the next deal comes along, I'm buying the next deal and I'm trying to get the money back from that next deal. And then if I'm building up a stockpile that's paid for, free inventory other than the cost of storing it, which has a cost, I'm usually pretty happy about it. If, it's always about the buy for me more so than it is about the sell. To me, it's just a big treasure hunt and it's exciting.
Yeah,
so.
That's same with me. Yeah. So what's something that you wanted to, what is something you wanted to find, you think, but you haven't yet, that you still try to get some piece or some article or something.
Is there some, whether, and what do you classify ephemera as? So like, what is it that you're really like on the hunt for? Like, what would you like to see? You don't necessarily have to get it, but like, what is it you would one day hope to run across?
I think it's a double question. So like, I think classifying ephemera is anything made out of paper that was not meant to be kept. So any, posters that were meant to advertise an event or something like that, they weren't meant to be collected. Yeah. Sports cards are considered a type of ephemera. They were made for kids to buy, trade, play with.
I'm glad you said that, because there's extensions of it. Like, and we've even talked about our because some paper is made out of cotton, right?
Right.
So like, can clothing be considered a form of ephemera? Because it's disposed of at one time, So like,
I would assume like paper dresses would be a form of ephemera, but I would not assume textiles as a form of ephemera.
Mm-hmm. Oh no,
you guys might be losing me again.
Yeah, a little bit. You're back though. Okay.
So yeah, it is. But we also look at the word ephemera doesn't necessarily only applying to paper. It's stuff that is like, the word ephemeral means to, it's here and it's gone. Whether it's disposed of or just.
Yeah, and a good example that would be those pens that you had. You had all those like political pins or the buttons that you were selling. Now, I would consider that ephemera.
And I don't necessarily. I consider those more memorabilia, pop culture, collectible type stuff, because they're metal backings. They were made to be sold to collectors. They weren't made to advertise something.
Yeah, there is a little bit of, there is that fine line, like Trish, where like, I guess if it is collectible, the permanence is going to be tried. Not that you can't rust a pin
It's fucking.
Just go ahead and start. Whatever.
No, because he keeps moving up, and I can't because he's a jerk.
We're on a live, everybody. This is a heated discussion. I love it.
She's yelling at the guy in the truck next to us.
Keep it going. This is gonna be a wild ride, everybody. And we got, for those who are coming in late, we got Mr. Buysalot. If you don't know him, subscribe to him. And well, Siri through the map quest is talking loud and trying to talk over me. Subscribe to Mr. Buysalot. He's right here. And do me a favor, hit the notification bell. Trish is going to have that link posted a little later, so if you have any questions, reach out to us. Thank you.
You're really breaking up, Louie. Is he breaking up for you, Brian? Because I'm getting a lot of breaking.
Actually, just for a second he did, but then he came back in fine.
I'm probably talking really fast too, so I'm just trying to get this in so we don't lose you. So,
no worries.
Trish, do you have any other questions that you want to? Because I have some.
And vintage, yes, that would definitely be ephemera.
Because it's paper. The paper dials is what you're saying, right?
Right. And they were made to be played with and thrown away. They weren't, back then it wasn't like, hey, let's spend $85 for a limited edition paper doll, even though that is ephemera. But, now the markets have caught up to knowing that, hey, if we make something limited edition, it's even if it's still made out of paper, but you're buying it because it's a collectible. It's like baseball cards. Baseball cards used to be 5 cents a pack, and they used to go in the spokes of your tires. Now baseball cards can be $500 a pack because it's got an autograph and a jersey card in it.
Yeah, I've gotten into these like semantics. So like, and I don't want to necessarily get into that, but I'm just saying, just so we're all out the board. Because I've gotten into, like about, well, that definition doesn't necessarily apply. And I've had people go, how can you consider baseball card ephemera? I'm like, they are collected, but they can be, kids rip them up, throw them out. People don't care about things. But it's really, I think it's about the impermanence of it. Some people collect them, but they buy them, and it's like a toy. You don't take care of it, it's not going to last, and it won't be collected. But have you ever walked into a deal, Brian, where like you knew that this was like, maybe it was like by accident, but like it's a rare set of ephemera. You couldn't make the deal. Like, when did you know to walk away? Have you had those type of deals where you said no? And can you give
Yeah, I mean, like, I've been offered some things even as of recently. There's a set of Beatles prints that look like they're almost like a Peter Maxis style Beatles print.
Sure.
There was a full set that were signed and numbered, and they only made 5 or 10 sets total.
Okay.
There was a full set that sold at Swan for about $150,000. I was recently offered one of the other 4 sets that specific artist. I can't remember exactly which artist it was. It might have been Aberdeen or one of those.
Yeah.
It was his secretary. It was a set he gave his secretary, and I was offered that set recently, but the guy wanted 200,000, and that set wasn't even signed. And I was like, well, look, sales results don't warrant those kind of numbers. I've got buyers for good stuff. If it's something really rare, I can call around and find a buyer. But that guy just had crazy dreams because it was the secretary, and he could prove it was the secretary. He felt like they were worth more than the other 4 or 5 sets out there, and it doesn't warrant that. If there's no results,
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because Trish and I have talked about this. Where and your example is actually the opposite of what we talked about. Like we always say, provenance is so very imperative. Like you can make this connection. In his case, you better hope that you have a letter secretary note from whatever, one of the guys, Paul McCartney, saying, "Hey, here you go, darling. These are a set for you." Or, but that would make the value rise so much more. But like you said, his dreams of wanting, and we've all been there, like dealing with a seller and a buyer, and vice versa.
Right.
You can't expect that somebody's going to fork down all this money, and especially when it comes to ephemera, I think is one of those few things where you really want a lineage. Like if you have a photograph of Samuel Clemens and you're not sure that's from his great niece or something like that, you want some kind of provenance that sets it apart. But it also it just gives this historical significance, which to me is not necessarily monetary value, but it's inherent in the value of it, being really an important piece.
And there's only so many buyers out there. I mean, if you look at an auction result for something that's really rare, I have a friend that collects really rare toys. Now he's in his 80s, and he'll spend $150,000 for a Markland boat.
Wow.
The problem is it's generally him and one other person bidding after about $80,000. And whenever I talk to him, it's like, well, when you pass, his son does toys and stuff. I was like, the value of that toy is going to be, 40% less than it was while you're here collecting it, because there's only 10 people in the world that would pay over 30 or 40 grand for that toy, and there's only 2 people that are paying over 80.
Right.
Yeah,
so it just depends on stuff. I joked with the kids today. I was watching live auctions while we're riding, and I'm watching t-shirts. T-shirts are going crazy right now, and it's 80s and 90s and early 2000s stuff that you can go to yard sales and buy. And I saw somebody pay $2,000 for a monster movie t-shirt from the early 80s today. And I was like, that's stuff that if I saw it at the flea market for $10, I might buy it because it's cool and I like the movie. Right. But if I saw it for $50, I would have just passed on it. I wouldn't have thought about it.
We all have our limits, but like you said, going into something, like you said, where that gentleman's like, no, I want $250,000. You got to know, you have to go. And there's also this thing I like to talk about that a lot of us, we forget to mention, but it has to do with our resellers' confidence. And I think specifically in a category like ephemera, and I know it's not strictly ephemera, but for ephemera, I think a lot of people don't want to do it. You know what I mean?
Brian, you're everywhere but home.
Yeah, I was on T's show this morning, and we were actually driving into Lake George. We were up there for this weekend for a little family vacation. They yelled at me because I bought 3 or 4 rock and roll posters. Actually, I bought 20 rock and roll posters and some T-shirts that match the rock and roll posters. From Lake George, I stopped at the House of Frankenstein in Lake George, who in the 1970s actually had pennants and coffee mugs and little pinback buttons that sell for, I think the pinbacks sell for around $100. The mugs sell for about $150 to $200, and the pennants sell for $400 plus. And of course, I'm going in there, I'm asking the lady that's taking money, hey, you guys don't have a souvenir shop anymore? I've seen like, pennants and stuff from that. And she's like, no, but I had that pennant when I was a kid in the late
Wow.
70s. They had the pennants, and I was like, yeah, too bad you don't have like a stock room full of that stuff. I would happily be. I'd be really excited about buying that. I buy to resell, and I explained to her, and she's like, oh, is that stuff valuable? And I'm like, yeah, the pennants are probably like $300-400 a piece, depending on how many hit the market. And she's like, what?
Well, that's just it, I think you brought up a good point, Brian, like where those two individuals, like after it goes up to like a certain price, like in a bidding war, how bad does that person want it? Is it based on nostalgia, like you said? And does that, but also, I also question, does that necessarily mean it's going to go down in price? Well, I think it's a good question you ask. Like, do your math. Like, once these two old guys pass away in 20 years,
Yep.
who's going to be next in line to want to carry that torch of like saying this is so valuable?
And then, like you said too, you got to have a certain buyer. There's certain people who are going to buy certain things, and it doesn't matter what the price is. It's not going to sell if that buyer's not interested in that.
Well, and trends come and go. Like, all of a sudden, you may have the
like
what was the
T-shirts?
Yep.
But they're talking about ephemera. Like, you may have the what's the National Museum in DC that collects stuff that keeps our history. Yeah, I'm brain farting too. But nonetheless, so but across the board, museums and galleries. So like the wonderful auction house that was setting precedents for keeping things cataloged. That's so imperative and important. So watching, provenance, this and that, but when you don't have all that stuff aside, how can you make something that's
Smithsonian?
There it is. Yep.
Smithsonian. Thank you, guys. We have a wonderful. We've been blessed, Brian. This is our fourth one, and Trish and I are going to call it quits for a little while. We're entertaining the thought of maybe monthly, kind of getting this to go. So maybe in the future we'll have you come back again. We'll have a little bit more questions about ephemera, and maybe you'll run into a collection, and we'll just want to do a quick live one day, and or pre-recorded or something. But we think this is a fascinating topic.
Yeah, I actually have we have next weekend. So if you guys have been watching, T on Auctions for You and I are going to do live auctions for 2 days out of my warehouse, and she's going to have carte blanche to whatever she wants to sell. As long as it's not something I have listed, obviously, on eBay, because we have a lot of listings there. But
it'll cause confusion.
Yeah, she's gonna have carte blanche. I actually have a truckload of ephemera and paper ads and lithographs and engravings.
When is that starting?
I'm talking hundreds of thousands of pieces that we're gonna offer out in like large lots. I'm probably gonna fill tray lots with 100, 200 pieces at a time, and just they're going to start and be sold. But
Brian, when are you going to be doing it? When's it starting?
It'll be Saturday on T's channel on Auctions for You,
and I ask you something?
Sunday it'll be on my channel.
Okay, is it already on StreamYard, or have you not programmed it yet on YouTube?
I do not think that T has programmed it. It will be my first live auction on YouTube, so she's kind of taking the wheel. I've done plenty of live auctions on Facebook, but I've never done one on YouTube. So we're trying to get the word out that we're going to have the auction. It will be next Saturday and Sunday. I believe.
Well, I'll tell you what. When we find it out, Trish and I will post it on this link down below for you. So just send it to us. We'll be happy to help you promote it, because people are going to want to come back and watch this.
Yeah, I can add it to this afterwards. It doesn't matter.
We've gotten really good feedback, and like you see today, we got Buffalo Pickers here. We got Johnny, Acacia Roots Reseller. Pat D's showed up. So we're really happy. Bluegrass Pickers here, Anthony. So let's move on. Let's do some other questions. So you brought up something that made me think, Brian, and once again, thank you for being here. I know this is really hard for you. You talked about like having lithographs. And now I am a art historian by nature. I have a master's in that, and I did my bachelor's degree in printmaking. So there has been, and so it's really a hard subject matter for sometimes people that are not in the art world to grasp, but resellers too, because we get so much product thrown at us. We have to make our discernment, and I say discernment. We have to do a discernment process sometimes on the spot then and there now, and when it comes to money, that's a big issue. But my thing I guess my question I'm going to ask you is, have you ever had, and would you mind being humble enough to give us an example of a failure? Because I've done it quite a bit when it comes to artwork, but like it can be photographs, photography, printmaking, any type of ephemera. Like I try to get onto people. There are so many variations of lithography. Like you gave a good example. Toulouse-Lautrec did certain types of prints. Lithography usually is printed on stone. The new type, anything like after a certain date, it's usually called offset lithography.
Offset printing, yep.
You know, it's not. It is lithography, but it's not like the traditional sense, which is be valuable, can't be valuable.
Right. So you have copper plate, you have stone lithography, you have offset printing, you have screen printing. You know, there's
Intaglio. You can go.
we
The
have
list.
digital. You know, the system itself is always progressing. You know, you can kind of date stuff based off of the style it's used.
Exactly.
Personally, I find it, you know, like your real question was about liking what you're buying. So I like stone lithography and really early, you know, turn of the century. It's just people put their heart and soul into the art then, and it wasn't just created on a computer. But some of the stuff nowadays that's created is amazing. I mean,
it's still valuable.
The imagination is beautiful.
But I think a lot of it has to do with like how much time in the process, and like you said, you know, it's you know, a quick laser jet print is, you know, when you see layers of like ink being printed, like you said, even today's silk screening is much different from old silk screening, and you'll see
it's not that blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it either. It's in my opinion.
Like
even multicolor silk screen.
Yes, but let's go back even farther. Lithography, you can still, it's almost like, intaglio is what you were talking, like a copper print. It's usually on a plate, and you see a sharper edge. But with lithography, it's usually rounded because the stones, you can't get it caught and snagged, because when you're rolling it through the press, you'll tear the paper apart, you know. But what I was going to say is, like, you know, when you go to places and you're trying to buy something and you're trying to buy it in bulk, somebody can deceive you unknowingly, not meaning to. They'll say, I have all these lithographs, and it turns out you don't really have lithographs. You have a form of it, which is really like mass-produced graphic art, which is like from magazines and stuff like that. Because old day book prints, they actually put intaglio prints in there, and there was a problem for a while. Resellers would take them out to sell them, you know. So, have you ever had issues with whether it's photography or prints being called on you, like saying that's not right or anything?
Yes. So I like a lot of photography stuff. So I buy original negatives and photographs, photo on board, cabinet photos, tintypes, embryo types, all of that type of stuff. But a lot of times you'll find press photos that are, I guess the key word would be restrikes. So what it is it's somebody took a photo and they took an image of that photo and made it
to another image.
Generally, there's a little black mark on them, so you can kind of tell them. But when you talk to some people, they are like dead set on, this came from my grandma's house, and it is, you know, this is an original picture of Marilyn Monroe that nobody else has. And then
when they don't know it's
flip it over,
reprinted, it says blurry or something.
Yeah, and you flip it over, and you're like, well, see this like Kodak, you know, color film.
It's Fuji.
That means like
something,
the last 20 years. It's not, you know, it's and they're like, you know, they are adamant that it's really old, and there's a point where you just go, okay, well, you know, I'm really glad she had it. It's a beautiful image, and you know, Marilyn Monroe was super fantastic and iconic, and somebody will love it, but it's not for me. And you just walk off, and you kept them happy. You did not. You told them your truth about the fact, and when they go home, maybe they'll think about it. They'll look it up on the internet, which is what everybody does, and they'll go, wow, you know, that guy was right. This is, you know, this was made 20 years ago.
I think,
you know,
just bought it to help them. I'm like you. Like, time is money. Like, I want to help people, but you can bring water to a horse, you can't make them drink. So, like you said, sometimes you just need to walk away. But If I have the
you have
time,
a piece, anything that has old, if you get it from the 60s or 70s, if it says litho on it, on the bottom of this piece, is that guaranteed it's a litho?
a form of litho, yes, it can be. It can, most of the time, like if you can see like the little, they have these like X's with the circles, and then that's like a where they call it alignment.
Hang on,
So
we're between two big mountains.
And
So
the
I
newer
can't really hear you
the
guys.
newer lithographs come from like on metal plates from like 50s on. I think it was 60s.
Something like that.
Brian, what was the most expensive piece of ephemera you have ever bought?
That I've ever bought?
Yeah, consciously.
I don't know if it would be like a single piece. It was probably that collection for $75,000. Was probably the most I've ever spent on a collection of just ephemera. I mean, the rock and roll concert posters, I spent more money than that on them. But by piece count, I bought like almost 50,000 rock and roll posters. So,
yeah,
per piece, I only have $3 to $5 a piece into them. Where the $75,000 collection, I might have had $20 or $25 a piece into, but one piece paid for the whole collection.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's where I think that's what we're trying to do is in this final segment is can you speak to this as a reseller? What would you tell a new reseller, somebody coming into like a collection and really wanting to invest? Like you said, you can you can start simple with like postcards or little gum cards, whatever, or little stack of prints, and start there, but experiment. And then like you said, you're not wasting too much money. It's better to lose 100 and take a chance. But what advice would you give them? Like anybody that wants to start says, I don't understand ephemera. How would they start to go from here? Like, what would you tell them and where to go?
I think everyone has a way of understanding ephemera if they look into, maybe they like Coca-Cola or their kitchen has Coca-Cola. Well, then maybe you want to buy Coca-Cola ephemera, ephemera that advertises Coca-Cola, or you really love fashion. So you can look for old fashion catalogs or old wallpaper catalogs that have beautiful design work in them. And you start from somewhere where you have an emotional attachment to the item. That way, if you make a mistake, it's not really a mistake. You own it, you love it, it's in your collection, and you learn, because then you want to see more items like what you like. And I think that's always a good way to start. And you're going to trip over other deals along the way.
Artist, right? You said your dad was an artist?
My dad was an auctioneer.
Okay. But like,
just like my dad was too. It's in my blood.
Yeah.
But like you said, if you invest in something, at least have some kind of like collateral that's not monetary,
right.
Whether it's like some intellectual property or something, or just like you said, an emotional value. Like, well, I still like it. It goes with my collection, which can help raise the collection in the long run, But I'm sorry, go ahead, you were saying.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is, if you have, a lot of it's nostalgia. It's when you were a kid, your favorite superhero was Spider-Man.
Sure.
So collect things that have to do with Spider-Man, or collect things that have to do with Marvel, and then you branch out into who else did Steve Ditko work on? Who else did different artists work on? And then
so like I grew up in that era where like I loved the Incredible Hulk, but because of that I ended up liked the Wolverine, because if it wasn't for the Incredible Hulk, there would not be a Wolverine, because he introduced them to it.
Right.
And then you can branch off from there. But like Marvel was a class act in terms of marketing.
But I don't think a lot of people are going to look at ephemera and think of Marvel characters as ephemera.
But I think what like Eric's trying to say is like that connection, like where it spins out.
Right. Yeah. So everything starts at a pinpoint and kind of swirls its way out. My mom loves textiles, so I've learned to appreciate the different eras of clothing. So whenever I look at a nice cardboard store display from the 1930s, I know it's 1930s because of what they're wearing and because of the fashion. And you can look at the nice, like, lightly tinted cheeks on the women, and they were all thin and just beautiful flowing art. And then Art Deco and Art Nouveau, and you get into like iCart and stuff like that. that stuff's beautiful to me. I love that stuff.
I do
I
too.
don't like
Yeah.
shabby chic and farm isn't my style. I like Art Deco and Art Nouveau. So
Yeah.
whenever I see prints and drawings that are done in the 1930s, or even cars and automobiles that have that futuristic airflow look to them, I'm drawn more to that. So I buy that
Well,
stuff.
you have that knowledge because of your parents, basically. I have knowledge because of my dad. But what if somebody didn't have that? Where would they go? What are they going to do? How are they going to find certain things? Just to go out there to
It's
look.
generational. So, young people are, so like Matt Romero made a comment earlier about people talking about t-shirts and stuff, and Matt knows clothing. But a lot of that clothing is based off of, hey, I love the movie Jaws.
Yeah.
So
There
they're
you
buying
go.
shirts with Jaws. So there is a generational gap. Like, I don't think that whenever I go to the flea market, there's not a lot of 22-year-olds coming into the business that are going, man, I'm looking for a Toulouse-Lautrec
Sure.
piece of art, because
Right.
it's generational. Unless they were raised in this and have dealt in
Right.
it for some time, they're not going to know that stuff. But if they have kids that have video games and stuff like that, you can show them an artist that they may have knew, or a favorite book line or movie series or TV series. They're going to have some knowledge of that artist. Isaac
And that
Asimov.
knowledge is what I call, like, because I am a historian, but it's distinctly. I don't want to get into age, but I've met some very good young resellers, and they're significantly, like, really savvy. And I'm like, I'm impressed. Where do you gain your knowledge? Guess what? They got it from the grandfather, and they want to carry that. And it's called a heritage. We all have these heritages. So, like, regardless of your topic or whatnot, like, I think ephemera, like, you could bring you right into it. So go ahead.
No, I just saw Harry Humstone came in.
Yeah.
Hey, Harry, we got a crazy crowd today. Like, you're stirring up the pot here. It's like, it's wonderful. So
yeah, it's an exciting field. I mean, ephemera is so wide and varied, and it's cheap. Like, you can go to any flea market and find some form of ephemera for a reasonable price, whether it's a box of photographs and photography.
That's true. This Bear Hardcore Picker. Hello, welcome. Thank you for coming in. That's a good statement. Time, knowledge, and experience will change your likes and what you are drawn to.
Right.
That's what I wanted to. That's basically how I wanted it to come out. Yeah.
Yeah, like Trish and Brian. I just don't. I mean, I'm one. Call me the peacekeeper, but I can be snarky. Don't get me wrong, but like I think the more we connect these collaborations and connections with the community, the young crowd, they're savvy and sophisticated, but also they need to learn from us. It's like
learn from it, yes. And that's what Craig is saying. Get out there, look, learn, watch others, and learn. Check eBay. Sold cheap education.
Yeah, yeah. Like
don't be afraid, guys. Just don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that I think Brian brought up a good point. Is if you have a respect for the heritage, if you don't understand the heritage, you're not going to go far. You're not going to be a sophisticated reseller. You're not going to have respect for it, and you're not going to really enjoy it. I mean, like, why bother? So like
you don't want it to be fun.
In so many different ways. You may have this wonderful coat collection of whatever, but if you don't have like documentation of magazine articles and pictures and like posters,
that's right.
What level do you want to bring this to? And like your collection all of a sudden can be worth a lot because somebody's going to go, you know how much stuff you have? That's like $200,000 worth of stuff. This museum wants it, Here, sell it. I'm dead.
What did Matt say? Yes, I will say a lot of my generation has no interest in the learning the past. I always soak up everything and store it. If I'm not learning, I'm not growing. Exactly.
Right. And Matt knows clothing like immensely. He's fantastic with rock and roll concert posters or shirts, but he would be able to pick out concert posters that were good because of his knowledge in concert shirts. He'll know bands, and it kind of gaps. It bridges the gap into a lot of different things, and you just kind of have to roll with it. My parents taught me that it was generally a 30-year rule. Like, I used to specifically I started with sports cards and then went into toys and then comic books and then now do everything. But for me it was like, okay, what would I like to have? I would original Nintendo games, because that's what I grew up on. It's interesting to me, and I used to have a giant collection. And would I love to go out and buy them now? Sure. But are they expensive to find? Yeah.
whether one thing started the other or not, like like for example, I'm going to give a quick example. Like I'm trying to think of DC comic world. There's what's her name? Harlequin was never in a comic book. She never existed in the form of ephemera. She was a video first, and then all of a sudden you're seeing her on
She's everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, there's that wonderful thing that you go back and forth. So, but I'm glad you said that about like Matt Romero. Like somebody big is like somebody maybe following auction storage, whatever his name is, who
Mike,
finds, Mike, who finds, over almost $100,000 worth of nice Grateful Dead shirts, and then you got to have a gentleman like Matt Romero who's humble and he's very like respectful, but he knows his stuff. The thing is, but you got to be passionate about it, like, and not just know this is a vintage and have a good eye, but you got to know this is why they did a single stitch, and this is where this is coming from, and you can smell, touch, using your sense. But it is a sixth sense. I think it comes intuitively, and it's like it's like for resellers that's a superpower.
Yeah, that's right. That is. It's our superpower. Yeah.
That's it.
Guys, and this guy right here, let me put my finger there. Listen, watch, subscribe, you guys, watch Nana Tink, you guys. We're just thankful that you're all here. This is what it's about. We got to collaborate more, talk about this stuff. We can't talk enough about it because nobody listens to it. Look, Brian's kids in the back are bored to death. They're like, Dad, why are we stuck in this car?
It's funny, like my son used to go to flea markets with me and used to love it.
What's his name? What's his? He's saying no.
My oldest one is Cody. He's the one in the background, right there.
Cody,
my other one is.
Are you 18? I got a daughter that's 18. We'll hook
he's
you up.
17. Yeah, he's 17. His girlfriend lives in Wisconsin, so.
Well, you can have one in Texas too. So.
Yeah. Hey, Cody, you want a second girlfriend? Can you afford a second girlfriend? See, there you go.
You got a rich dad. You got a rich dad.
I don't know about that.
My daughter's gonna watch this and yell at me.
Stuff. But I mean, they used to be at the flea market with me and really enjoyed it. But now he's like, Dad, I don't want anything to do with it. He likes sneakers.
Yeah, but you know what?
Yeah, you gotta let him go his own route. So go ahead, Nana.
That might change because I was like that too, growing up with my dad, and he had his own auction house and he had his own auction shop, and I was there all the time. I loved it as a kid, and I loved doing the auctions and the flea markets with them. But then I got like in my 19s, and then up until whatever, I didn't want any part of it. I had nothing to do with it.
My daughter too. I'm hoping she slowly comes back. I've been a sore thumb for her. I've probably been a thorn, with respect to eBay. But I always tell her, I'm like, why are you working at this fast food restaurant? You can make so much more, because all her friends are doing Depop and whatever, And I'm like, find your platform, find your voice, find something you like. You can, because like your son, he may not want to go your route, but he'll learn the business from you. His way.
And that's what I'm trying to explain to him is like he's leaving. He'll graduate high school this year. He's doing really good. And he's going to go to Wisconsin for engineering. So he's going to go to college. But, I'm trying to explain to him that, like, hey, look, watch this auction with me on T-shirts. While you're in Wisconsin, if you start getting strapped for money because, housing's not cheap and school's not cheap and you lose your job for a month and you can't find another one or whatever, go to a thrift store and buy, 10 T-shirts. And if one of them is a hit, maybe you pay your rent from spending $20 or $30. Right. If you have some knowledge ingrained in you, there's always a way to make it. And if you're willing to do work and learn different things, there's always a way to not be poor or not be strapped. Look, I don't have a lot of cash on hand. I've got a ton of merchandise because everything I make goes back into business.
Yeah. And
once they sell that one item though, and that they see what it can do, that's a hook right there,
Yeah, Nana, I know you do this, and Brian just admitted, and I am too. I think the one thing we all three have in common is we're flea market people at one point or another, or still will not opposed to it, whether you're going or buying or selling there. And
it's fun.
It's we need instant cash flow. You just go and just throw out a bucket of stuff. With ephemera, it's wonderful. People want to go nuts. So I want to kind of keep the top back on ephemera. Like with my daughter, I told her, you don't have to have a lot of room. Like I was telling Nana, all you need is a box this big. Just a box this big, It could be go to your grocery store. They have clean ones, or just buy one at home, wherever it is, and just put your stuff in there. Keep it organized. Keep it safe. You can buy, because when I was in college, I used to go to garage sales all the time, and I would like find things, and my friends wanted to buy it for me, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I need a keg out of that one, or it's like whatever. It's like you're not getting this because that one's a 6-pack, or something, But you can do trade, and trade to me is so much more valuable. Like, but when you have like a stack of like postcards, whatever, you can sell stuff little by little, and not have to worry about space and storage too much.
Yeah, imagine how many postcards you could fit in that box you just had.
Yeah, just imagine.
And if they were all real photo postcards, you could have $50,000, $100,000 in that one box.
Yeah.
And university cities are great because there's a lot of retirees that sometimes go around there, because sometimes they're retired teachers or families of the teachers. And when they retire, they want to get out of that town. They'll give you their collections and stuff, And if you can,
they don't want to take it with them. They want to be done with it. They don't want to move it. Yeah.
My tip of the day is go to all the garage sales and yard sales you can, but go to the moving sales first. If you see it, go to a moving sale first and clear them out.
Yeah.
Bring a wad of cash and say, "Here you go. I'm here to help."
EstateSales.net.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, we know your time.
We're past our time here, guys. I'm sorry to keep you, Brian, but you're not going anywhere but sitting in a car.
Yep, I'm just riding. The wife's driving. She's doing all the hard work.
But I think your son's giving me a dirty look in the back, saying, "Dad, cut it short." He's like, "Who is this weirdo?" The lone
he knows. He knew I was doing this. So.
You tell him what Emily said here. You're going to end up like us, whether you like it or not.
I wouldn't bet on that. He's got about 8 inches in height on me right now.
What's his name?
It's Cody.
Cody, watch Ellie Conway. She's the funnest, quirky. She's about not much older than you. She is awesome, and she's like killing it. She's already monetized, and guess what she's doing? She's making a bank. She doesn't have to work.
If you watch TikTok, you got to go find her on TikTok.
Yeah, she's better on TikTok. She's very funny.
Emily, drop your TikTok.
And she actually has the clothes on in those videos.
Bear says, I realize shirts are going crazy, but a smarter reseller also keeps their eyes open for the upcoming trends in the niche markets that most don't see. That's true, but how do you know that? How do you know ahead of time?
Yeah, those are good questions. Hi, Eric. We got OBX Picker in the house.
Hey, Eric.
You guys, we're blessed by all you guys. You guys are like some of the original gangsters here. We want to thank you, Brian. We would love to stay longer if you're willing to. It's a topic we can ramble on about all day, let alone in reselling. But what would you say? Do you have any final thoughts on like Ephemera and like what what have you found that you didn't expect was Ephemera? Like I showed Dan a Tink one. We went to the eBay pages of like the highest sold, and I was very specific about words. I found a lampshade made out of cardboard. And it was paper inside, and it was Art Deco, and it sold for like, what was it, $5,000 or something? It was crazy, and it was beautiful. And the thing was, it was pristine. It was from the 30s.
Wow,
it was amazing.
It was crazy awesome.
I can't remember. It was hundreds of dollars. It was a lot,
There are signs you just need to recognize them. Yeah,
I think the key on my end is if you like it. And you buy something and you want to deal in something specifically in Ephemera, find something that emotionally moves you in either direction. If you hate it, don't buy it. If you like it or you love it and it just draws some emotion out of you, it's going to draw some emotion out of somebody else too. So,
you said that.
Learn.
Awesome. I will say this much, and it's gonna. Okay, you want to see, Brian? You want to see Trish get really upset at me right now? We've had this debate. I found an old book, and then she's gonna go, no. But I found a book that was actually falling apart. Somebody was gonna burn it, and I went and salvaged it. I said, don't burn that. And I grabbed the whole bag of stuff, and in that book was a children's book with like pictures I've never seen. It wasn't super valuable, and I looked up comps, and you could probably find one for $20. But the pages were coming out. I took them and framed them. And it was like some little cowboy kid. I can't remember the name of it. It was a quirky name in the book, but you never would see it again. And I framed them and brought them to a flea market. Probably bought about 40 of them. I sold them for like $5 to $20 a pop.
Right, and that book's probably $20.
And the book was only 20, and it was falling apart anyway.
Yep.
And you know
I
what?
do that too, Nana. I have to say I do it.
I
too.
know, but
We have government reports, but they don't have any covers on them. And a book may have 500 government reports in it from the 1800s. One may be on slavery, one may be on Civil War, one may be on nurses, one's on building bridges. And the person who wants one on Civil War doesn't really care about the one on building a bridge. So we actually sell those individually. And that book, instead of selling that book for $50, it might have 200 reports in it. We get at least $10 a report. So that book's worth $2,000. Now they don't have covers, and they're 100+
yeah,
years old.
that's different. I could see that. Yeah,
But
that's
I
a little different.
won't kill magazines.
Parted out.
See, he won't tear up magazines.
I will not tear up magazines for
See,
the
and that was my point. I won't tear up magazines.
Whatever
See?
my customers do, they're more than welcome. If I get a magazine and it's in nice shape and there's 3 car ads in it, the magazine sells for $25, I'm not ripping out the car ads to sell them for $10 a piece.
No, why would you?
I can
Exactly.
name you five artists. Of course, I know we're not the artists, but like I can name you 5 artists that did collage out of magazines from back in pre-30s and millions of dollars. You know,
I
You
would
get
do, I would do
linebacker
the
and stuff
art.
like that.
There are certain magazines, if there's really a nice piece of artwork in there or something, then I could see it maybe. If there was nothing else of value in that magazine. But to keep a magazine together.
That's a fine point. You say nothing of value. Like the other day, Nana had this magazine. I'm like, who cares? And she goes, that's my nephew in there. He's posing in this picture.
Yeah, I do. I have a nice, I do have a nice magazine with my nephew, but I'm never going to take that out.
That's valuable. So it's that emotional attachment Brian's talking about. When you have nostalgia tucked into it, you can get somebody. That's what I love about flea markets. You're selling a piece of ephemera. This man had thousands and thousands of postcards. Guess what he did with them? He was like a guy next to me. He's my neighbor.
I wouldn't.
He put them all in categories. Like this is on donkeys. This is on architecture. But he sells them at $10 a pop.
Wow. Yeah.
And one day,
it depends. Like up here, that stuff's common.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. But see, then I would sell that ad, and you get the rest of the magazine for free.
There you go.
That way, you're not butchering the magazine either.
Yeah. So, on that note,
That's my nephew.
Oh, that's awesome.
I would never destroy this.
And GQ.
Yeah.
with Billy
I
Crystal,
don't blame
I
you.
told her, I said, "Is Billy Crystal your nephew?" She's like, "No, that's."
But I would never destroy that. No way.
I'm not saying destroy it, but like if it's a contemporary magazine and you're an artist, sometimes collage, But I don't condone it. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying, take your discretion.
I'm talking vintage magazines, like new stuff that people just throw them in the trash or throw them in recycling.
Yeah.
That's a little different. Or if you find them and they're damaged or whatever, then go ahead and butcher those.
Maybe.
But, I like magazines and stuff like that. And definitely some ads are worth more than the magazines in a lot of cases.
That's what I was saying, yes.
So like if you have a magazine that's literally fraying on the edges, it's off the spine, the staple or something. But like if you find a vintage Coke, and you put it in a nice slipcover, you're actually doing a historical preservation of sorts. And you're giving somebody a chance that collects that Chevrolet.
Just that part, yeah. Hi, Iris. Thanks for sneaking in. And Russell came in too. Hello. Hi, guys.
Well, we want to let you back with your family because we know time is valuable there. Your son back there is waiting to talk to you. I know he's got a deep dialogue he wants to carry on with you.
I think he's
I'm
sleeping.
surprised he's not sleeping. He's usually sleeping.
He is sleeping.
Ever since he was a baby, like in the car, man, boom, out.
Me too. I'm good for 3 hours and I'm done.
Yep.
Well, Brian, do you have any closing notes? We appreciate you.
No, just if you're new in the business, just remember, like, it doesn't really matter what you deal in, whether it's ephemera or toys or collectibles. Just have a passion for it, and the harder you're willing to work, the bigger your business will grow. And not every hit has to be a home run.
That's a good point. Not every day has to be a home run. Don't forget that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yesterday. I was telling Nana I went to this bar. It was a barn. It was like a storage shed barn, and this kid was like younger than me, like 20 something. I'm like, how did you get all this stuff? He's like, oh, I inherited it from my family. I'm like, good stuff was coming out of it. You would have went nuts. You probably would have said, here's $3,000. I'll buy it all. You know.
Yep.
And this kid was like, he gave me good deals, but I wasn't sure, so I was kind of doing the dance, and I picked up this stack of ephemera. It was like in a wire cage, and I was like, "Oh God, it's gonna break." One of those that you've seen a lot. I pull out a stack, and I looked at the rest, and I didn't want it. It was like coloring book stuff, and I said, "How much is for this?" Because underneath it was like Vampirella magazine.
Nice.
So I was like, and they were kind of falling apart, maybe one or two or three, but I was like, how much do you want for something like this? You know? And he's like, he's trying to go through it, but luckily he didn't look at the magazines. And he goes, I don't know. Would you give me $10 for it? I'm like, yeah. Let's make a pile. I'm gonna buy more stuff, you know.
Yep.
So,
that's it.
Yeah, that's how you work it.
You know, that was probably about $100 of stuff. There's some Air Force stuff in there, and it was great.
Yeah, and you never know. You could buy a deal for one item, and the other items, when you go to sell them, they bring more money than what you were buying it for, because nobody knows everything. And
you know, my guess is at least $20 I'll get back. I'll probably, big deal.
Look, I don't even need to see the lot, and I'll give you $20.
Sold.
I'm a gambler. Let's try this.
Shipping's going to be expensive.
That's funny.
Well, thank you for being here. We know this is kind of last minute because a couple other ideas that we have, and we're still working on some more people, but in the future. And, we wanted somebody like, some other people, but we know you're just as knowledgeable. So we thank you for being here last minute. We enjoy watching you. And more importantly, I can speak for myself. I know Nana will agree with me. Your passion and your love for reselling is just, it's amazing.
It's fun. It's exciting. It is a treasure hunt. It's
a treasure. That's why I have that name, Treasure. I love treasures.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, we thank everybody in the chat. We thank you for giving us time. If we missed a question, just email it to us. We'll send it. We'll send it over to Brian. I think
we'll put out a notice when we're going to do this again. Not right away, but we will be doing it again.
December. We're going to need a little break. We'll see.
Appreciate you, Brian. Thank you. Appreciate
no problem.
You bunches.
Thanks, guys. You guys, make sure to subscribe to both of them because they're awesome.
Okay.
Be safe. Be careful going home. Take care.
Yeah. Safe driving.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye,
wife. Thank you so much for letting us have them for a minute. Thank you.
Thank you for driving.
You're welcome.
And we love it when you cuss people out. It's great.
Yeah.
What you see is what you get.
It's usually me.
I love it. I love it. I don't even know you, and I love you.
Thank you for supporting Brian. He's a really important part of this community. We thank you for your time sharing him, because I know he's busy. And you two in the back, you guys in the back, especially you in the red hood, we see you. You guys have fun. Take care. Your dad's awesome. You don't know it, but your dad's awesome. Really is.
Oh, they know it.
All right. Hey, how about you? Are you looking for a girlfriend? I got a daughter. It's 18, so.
He's only 13.
Louis, stop.
Too young right now.
Never mind.
Yep.
It's not a matching channel.
All right, guys. Take care. Be careful. Have a safe trip. Thank you.
Okay, see y'all.
See everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Hey, guys. Okay, we're going to say goodbye to everybody now. So take it easy. Thank you all for coming and appreciate this month. Thank you, Louis, for asking me to do this with you. I was honored that you asked me. I appreciate it very much.
I've done it without you.
And I definitely want to do it again. Don't know when yet, couple weeks at least. So we're going to have a break. But when we do, we'll let y'all know. We'll be posting it. So look for it. Okay, guys?
If you guys really enjoy this, and anybody that's listening, and I know some of you guys are shy and listening and don't want to talk, that's fine. But if you know somebody who likes ephemera, pass this series on to them. Let them watch it. Hopefully it'll contribute to them. Maybe it'll get you guys a little more, involved with and reach out to us. We'll share ideas. We'll try to answer.
Yeah, do whatever you want. You guys drop your links to share to each other so y'all can help each other out and share and get the knowledge here. So drop your links.
do this for Nana. Subscribe to her, but comment on her comment section if you enjoyed seeing Brian. If you have any other names you'd like to see in the
in
chat,
the future.
Yeah, in the future on YouTube, whatever. Just any ideas, share it with us. We love you guys. We appreciate you, and thank you for being part of this community. We hope we didn't bore you too much, but it's a lot of fun, So,
Oh, thank you. Bye all.
bye everybody. We're signing off.